Hi, hello, welcome. Today I have a special guest in the video, and this is Jellycat Bartholomew. He is the cutest little bear. This is the medium size. He normally comes with mine came with plaid flannel pajamas, but it's summertime. And in the spring, they came out with a strawberry outfit, Bart, and I loved him so much. But I really didn't need a second one, so instead, today we're going to be making him a strawberry sweater. Now this tutorial is specifically for the medium Bart, but if you like this sweater, you can 100% make it for another Jellycat. You can make it for a different size of Bartholomew, you can make it for a different bear, or even a doll. I'm going to kind of give guides of how I personally size my crochet for sweaters. Now, my pink yarn ran away, but I am just using scrap yarn. This, I believe, is like a size 3 yarn. I'm using my 4.5 hook, which also ran away. But I'm using a 4.5 millimeter hook. The other things you'll need is a medium Jellycat Bart, or you can use a different plush, like I said, a crochet hook or a crochet needle, some scissors, and that's about it. So yeah, if you guys have a medium Jellycat Bart and you want to make him a sweater, or maybe you saw the sweater in the thumbnail and want to make it in general, this is a great opportunity to learn some different techniques. The sweater making for plush is kind of how I really progressed a lot in my crocheting. I learned a lot, I learned how to size, and it's a lot of technique that you learn while doing this. So it's a great thing to, like, once you kind of get the basics down and you want to learn some new things, to do it. And plus it's cute. Who doesn't like a teddy bear and a strawberry sweater? So let's go ahead and start making it. To start our sweater for little Bart here, we're just going to do our starting chain. Now, I will get an exact number, so if you have a medium Bart, you can just know and don't have to do this part. But if you're doing this for a different Jellycat or stuffed animal or even a doll, I will show you how I measure. But we will get the exact measurement here for Bart if you're using this size yarn. Now this is, I think, a 3. Like I said, I'm using scrap yarn. So it's a little hard to remember because I did not save these. Well, I saved the yarn obviously, but I did not save their little card. So let's check it out. So I did some of that. Bart's got to remove his pajamas here so he can look. He'll have to be cold for a few minutes, but let's take him. So if you're doing this with your own, or maybe you're using a different size yarn, so the sizing's going to be a little different and you'll need a different number of stitches. Basically take the yarn to where you want it on his body. And stuffed animals are a little easier than dolls. I don't have dolls. I know like American Girl dolls will still have this, but other ones, you're typically going to have a seam here. Bart does not, but typically with a lot of stuffed animals, you have a seam right here. You'll basically put your yarn there, and then you'll want to stretch it so it goes from one side to another, because as you go, you can see this yarn is very stretchy, so it will stretch. So we're going to want to stretch it and make sure that it goes all the way from one seam to the other. And then I'm going to count my stitches here. So I have, okay, let me count and then I'll come back so you don't have to wait while I count. So I have 25 stitches, then plus we have yarn still on here. So that is how much for, like I said, I think this is a size 3 yarn, my 4.5 millimeter hook here for little Bart. I'm going to do the half double. If you've watched any of my videos making sweaters and stuff, that is my favorite stitch. But we're not going to go into, let me make sure I'm on camera here, sorry. Still adjusting to filming. We're not going to go into this very first one, our 25th stitch. We're going to go into the one next to it. and like I said, I'm going to do half double here. It's going to be nice and tall. Then we're going to go again into the next one and go all the way down. Now, with the shape of Bartholomew here, we're going to kind of look. It kind of has like a slight triangle shape. So basically the whole time we're going to be going upwards. And because he has this nice kind of like natural triangle, it's going to make it pretty easy to make. It's just going to be this part that's going to get tough. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm going to go all the way down with our half double crochet, and then I will come back in and tell you what to do next. All right, we finished our first row here, and you should have 24 stitches if you are kind of like still new. I always just count the V's. I like using typically like a slightly larger hook than I need, because especially if you're someone like me who wings a lot of things and maybe later need to count, as you can see, it gives it a little more space and it makes it a little easier to count them. So there's just that little tidbit, but we're gonna put our Bart down here. We're gonna measure. It's still looking good here. It fits from those seams to those seams. Oh wait, he does have those seams. They're right here. You just gotta feel for him. You can't really visibly see them because Jellycat's a good brand like that. But we're gonna measure. Make sure you guys can still see. That this time we're just gonna keep with the size. So we're gonna do another 24 stitches here, because he does have enough width across. We just want to make sure that we kind of follow, like I said, the natural flow. So we're going to go into the first one, if it'll let me. I'm not used to using this small of yarn. I've been using thicker yarn recently. And then we're going to go all the way across. And then I think the next time we will need to reduce the size of our row to fit Bart here. So continuing on with the half double, and maybe we won't. If we don't, I will jump back in with the third row already done. If we do need to start shortening it, then I'll jump back in with that. I did decide to go 3 rows. I also like the half double because, as you can see, you can count your rows. You can see how there is a difference between 1, 2, and 3 compared to a single crochet where you can't as much. Now also just a little tidbit, if you see where this is kind of like tight, so to speak, at the bottom, it's because your stitch is larger. So if you're still newer to crochet, that is why. But I decided to go with 3 just so he has enough room through his little waist here. And now we're gonna measure, or now I'm gonna show you how to go in just slightly with your yarn here. So we are going to take Bart and we're gonna kind of like check it out here. So as you can see, we've made a bit of progress on him here. And it's going to be a little big through the top, but that's okay. And since it goes in just a little bit, we're gonna take our yarn, we'll move him out of the way, even though he's cute to look at. And I'm just gonna skip my first one here. And I'm gonna go in, oops, not through there yet. And then I'm gonna go in again. So I'll show you one more time. I'm gonna skip, then I'm gonna wrap my yarn, go through the second one, pull through, and instead of pulling a new piece through, I'm gonna go in through the third stitch, pull through, then pull, and you should have 4 loops, and then pull all the way through, just like that. And then we're gonna keep going through with our stitches here. So I have my next row here, which has 21 stitches across it. And next we're going to finish it off here, give myself some more yarn. And we don't want to go like too far over this time because we did like jump in with that. So this time we're just gonna skip, go the next one, and weave through and keep going. Because we will just naturally start to make like a slightly angled one, and then we'll check in with this one and see how it's looking on our Bart here. We are almost to the point. We have about one more row till we get to his armpit, which is where it gets a little bit more difficult. But since he is narrowing some more, I'll show you my crochet here. I could technically go to this stitch here if I wanted to, you know, keep the width I'm at, but I don't. So I'm going to skip again, go into the next one. We're gonna go all the way across. One more time, and then we're gonna start accounting for his little, like, the holes where his arms go, the arm holes after this, which is where sometimes it can get a little bit more. You have to be a little cautious with making sure you make the holes big enough. Getting tangled. I got to the point where we're into his armpit here. Jellycats, the one thing about them is they have such a like wide arm right here, or they have really skinny arms, which can make it difficult, and typically they narrow out right through here quite a bit. So I'm going to keep them close, and once again I'm not going to go all the way over, so we kind of have this shape to it. Gonna finish it off, and then I'm gonna kind of hold it up to him. I know this would hit about right there. Make sure you can see how it's starting to curve into his arm. You're gonna make sure it's all laid out here. And if I were to go straight up, you would see it would cut over his arm, which you definitely could do if you'd like, but I'm just gonna go over like I had, right into there, and then right into here again. And then that should be enough where once it's all laid out, that it'll be kind of following the curve of his arm instead. I don't think it would be a huge deal if you didn't cut in that much. I've made sweaters for my little bears, and it really doesn't affect them, because it would affect you if you're making it for yourself, because it would probably be pretty uncomfortable. But no offense to them, I don't think they feel whether or not the sweater is uncomfortable. I'm now to the point where it's a little easier because I will only need about 2 more rows here before we get to his chin. And you can kind of just put your yarn on him. You see it goes to the seam. So we're gonna go up and over to this seam and then up and over to that one. So that's all you really have to do towards this part of the sweater. Here is what it looks like so far. I'll pull it off so you can kind of have an idea. It's gonna be a little bit of an odd shape here where it kind of goes drastically in, but that's kind of their shape. So this is what the shape of it is. It's gonna fit on him like I just showed you. Mine, unfortunately, I had a knot in my yarn right at the very end, so I'm just gonna have to cut and tie it off, but yeah, so that is what the front looks like, and then we just do the same exact thing with the back. I think with Bart, he has about the same, let's see, the same back, but you're just gonna wanna make, as you can see, he's a little bit wider, so you're just not gonna wanna go in as far. But you just kind of replicate this. You'll probably kind of stop right about here and go straight up instead of continually going in, since his back is a little wider. I'm to the point where we got to the front piece of Bart, as you can see, but his back does not narrow as much. We're gonna hold it up like we would for the front, and as you can see, it's already like almost a little too narrow, so it's gonna be a little tight across his back. So we just wanna go straight up from here. So I'm going to go back in. We can do that. We're gonna do this. And it's okay if it, like I just showed you, looks like it's gonna be a little tight, because it will kind of counteract with the front side because of his shape, how he kind of is, just his natural shape. The front is going to be almost like it's going to be tight around the waistband, but it's going to be almost too big in a couple areas. So the back being a little tighter will help kind of counter it. So we're just going to go up, and we're going to finish our rows just with continually putting in. I'll go all the way to the end so I can show you here. Bart is sitting on the yarn though. So let's go all the way over to show the difference here of what it looks like. I know this, I probably could have cut this, but you know what? We're committing now. We're committing to the clip because I'm almost done at this point. And once you get like these parts done, this is like the big piece, but I will say it gets a little bit more complicated from this point on. Like these are pretty easy. I tend to have a hard time with the sleeves, and then we're obviously making it a little more unique. So once again, we're just gonna go back into this front one and do that until we have the same height. So we need this row and then one more. It is now time to do the sleeves of our sweater, which is arguably my least favorite part. I don't know why I don't like doing sleeves, but it's definitely my least favorite here. We are going to do a starting chain. I will tell you the length of our starting chain once I do it here and check. But if you're making for a non-Bartholomew, or maybe you're using a different size yarn, different hook size, whoever, whatever, this is kind of how you measure. So we're going to kind of wrap, and we want it to go all the way around. It's going to be a little tight, but that's kind of what you want here. So I think this should reach all the way around. Yep, I'm gonna do one more for good measure, and then let's count our things here. I have 20 in my starting chain, because he does have nice thick arms. And then we're gonna kind of do the same thing that we did before. So we're not gonna go into this very first stitch, but this stitch right here. And we're gonna do a half double crochet. But this time, we're not gonna like shorten our rows at all. We're just gonna keep going, making a nice rectangle. This wants to cooperate. We're gonna make a nice rectangle here for the sleeve. Here's our first row here. We're gonna flip, and since we're not shrinking our rows here at all, I'm gonna go into this one. I'm gonna go back all the way over, and I'm just gonna keep repeating that. I'm gonna go all the way through to the end loop here and go up, and then I'm gonna go back and forth, and I'll show you every row as I do it, and I'll tell you how many rows I end up doing. I typically, for my bears and my plush in general, do just shorter sleeves because they're tedious and I don't like them, and it doesn't really make a difference for the teddy bear. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Here's 2 completed rows with the third one started. I think we're gonna end up with 5 rows altogether, but I will check back in. We now have 3 rows done. 1, 2, 3. This is what it looks like once we have 4 rows done. This is 5 rows, and just to give you an idea of what it looks like actually on Bart, sorry, I'm charging my phone too, but that's what it actually looks like. I think I might do 6, just so it's a little bit longer here. But if you like the look of this, this is just 5 rows. I'm gonna add my last row, and then just gotta do a second one exactly the same way as you did the first. I now have all the pieces of my main sweater. Of course, we're gonna add some green after we attach these together. So if you just wanna do a plain sweater for your Bart, you can definitely do that from this point. You need your crochet needle, or whatever it's actually called. That's what I have just been calling it. And we're gonna get it here through the yarn if it wants to cooperate. Normally, especially this yarn. And I have my yarn on my needle here, and I'm just gonna kind of weave through the edges here. Gonna keep weaving through, make sure I stay on screen here. I just kind of take the two front ones, just weave it all the way through, back and forth, just like this, so we don't accidentally end up going through the same one and lose a stitch. If you end up getting two like that, that's okay too. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's part of crocheting or learning to crochet. All the good stuff is your stuff's not going to end up perfect every time. And I'm going to stop here to start, and then we're going to put the sweater on Bart and kind of size up where we need to go from there. I stitched up to that point there, but as you can see, there's still a decent gap in between where we stopped and our bear's armpit. So we are gonna go up 1, 2, 3 more and seal that up so it's nice and tight. If you made your sleeve bigger, you can leave it a little bit more open to fit your sleeve. But with the size of sleeve I went where it's a little bit more tight to the body, as you can see, it would be a little bit like pulling on the yarn itself. So we're gonna go up and then we're gonna do the same with the other side. We have our side seams of our sweater done. So this is going to be the inside of our sweater because you can see how thick it is right there. And when you flip it around, it looks way nicer. So keep that in mind when doing this. And now we're just gonna stitch together our top and bottom here to get a nice tight neckline. So you're basically gonna weave your yarn through here, and then next we're gonna do what we did here with our sleeves, and then we'll attach our sleeves, which I'll show you how to do. In case you're curious on how I stitch the kind of, I guess, the shoulder together. So we're gonna go to this like tip right here, and we're gonna, oops, try and do this through here. And I'm literally just gonna pull that through, which this is the yarn at the top that I finished my crochet with. It's kind of difficult to do this one-handed, but we're gonna have it, we're gonna pull it tight, and we're gonna tie it off where it is basically just another loop there. So that's how I do that. When it comes to attaching the sleeves to our sweater here, the only big difference between when we do our seams here is that you're gonna want to go through like both loops on here and then the double loops here, because it'll help prevent getting like gapping on this. So that's my little tidbit there. If you were just here to make a little Jellycat sweater and you did not want to make specifically a strawberry one, and there you go, that is done. But of course we're gonna make a strawberry sweater. Now if yours is like mine where he kind of has a little bit of, I guess, like a gapping right here, which tends to happen with plushies, we're just gonna weave through these couple and pull it tight while it's still on him, so you can make sure it kind of rounds out the neckline a little more for him. I did all my leaves. I did not film myself making these because I didn't want this video to be an hour long, but basically I started with my starting chain of 7, and then I either did 6 or 5, then kind of went down, so they're all kind of slightly different. Sorry, you can hear my son playing in the background, but they're all a little different. If you want to do the same exact ones, you are more than welcome to, but I made mine slightly different. So now all we gotta do to finish the sweater off, other than weave our ends in, is kind of do what we did with the seam, except this time instead of attaching 2 sides, we're gonna take the flat edge of this and stitch them all the way around in whatever way you would like them to be set up. I am going to talk about everything I just did here in a second, but if you don't want to weave your ends in, kind of measure up where your leaf is going to fall, and then we're just gonna pull it through gently, and then you can also tie off your ends up here too. So then you can just trim it and all your ugly extra bits are on the inside of the sweater. All I did for this was I literally, like I said, with these stitches, is I just weaved the top yarn through here to stick it to here, and then just to kind of secure it and weave the ends in, I took the bottom one and loosely tied it where it's kind of like loose, so it has a little like detailing to it. Now I gotta go in here and trim up all my loose yarn, and we'll show the full final product. And just like that, we have a strawberry sweater for our medium Bart. He is ready for summer, even though here in Virginia, summer vacation for a lot of people will be over not too long from now, but that's okay. And we'll be celebrating Halloween pretty soon, but that's okay. Here's his sweater, him in it. Oops, we have a loose yarn, some loose yarn up there still. But he is looking super cute. So yeah, and this is like a nice soft cotton. So if you made this for like yourself or your child or like a friend, whatever, and they want to cuddle with him, he's still very cuddleable if you use like baby yarn or cotton yarn. Yeah, there he is. If you guys enjoyed this video and want me to make more stuff for Bart or just other plushies in general, you can let me know down below, because I definitely have other ideas and other things I can make. And if you want to know a different way to make a strawberry sweater, I have another video where I use Rilakuma as my model, and he has little embroidered strawberries on his sweater instead. That's the first video I posted like quite a while ago, but you can definitely check that out. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye!